Welcome in, everyone, to our December installment of our Dream Job webinar series. I'm Danny Rubin, founder of Rubin, and I want to welcome you to a terrific conversation around graphic design with a seasoned professional, Kevin Carobine. Thank you, Kevin, for making time from your busy job and sharing with the students and with me what your world is like every day, what you're creating, how you're creating, and what it's like to work for a large team. And not just that, but for a city, a municipal government. So there's a lot of layers here in what you do and sharing how you find creativity through working with a city and promoting a city internally and around the country, around the world, right? Because Virginia Beach is a resort community
Yep.
people come to. So we're going to talk about all of that. And I'll have you first, Kevin. I'll have you first introduce yourself and kind of take us through your career a bit, and then we'll dive into our conversation. Go ahead, Kevin.
Sure. Thanks, Danny. And thanks everyone for joining. It's a pleasure to be here with you. My name's Kevin Carobine. As Danny mentioned, I work for the city of Virginia Beach. I have been employed with the city of Virginia Beach for 20 years. I have a educational background in fine arts and graphic design, um, and started my career with the city basically right out of college, right right when I got my degree, and I was working with Parks and Rec, doing arts classes. I was teaching a pottery class to teens in the back of the rec center with a kiln and some pottery wheels. I was doing art camps for school age kids in the summertime, just making stuff, take home, just teaching fundamentals. And then about 4 or so years into that, I switched departments and career paths really to focus on what my educational experience is in, and became a graphic designer for the public libraries. And from there, kind of worked my way up to creative services coordinator, where I was managing the internal brand. I was managing all the creative services for the library. And then just very recently, within the last year, now I'm working for the communications office for the city of Virginia Beach as the design and brand manager for the whole organization. So I oversee a team of um, really, really talented multimedia designers, graphic designers, motion graphics designers, our chief photographer for the city. And then, part of our work here is to manage the visual brand. So setting guidelines and standards for the visual brand, how Virginia Beach communicates out into the world and internally, really.
So cool. You really you first of all, you've been with the city for 20 years, and but you have transitioned to a really large role here, overseeing a big team and a city that, like I said, projects itself out to millions of people to attract them every summer or all year to come visit. So let's get into your work. And as I do this, as we start, I want to welcome the students and teachers to go to the Q&A along the bottom of Zoom. And I want you to start putting your questions in the Q&A area. When you put your question, put your name and your school so we can give you proper credit for your question. So start asking your questions about graphic design to Kevin. And I'll start, Kevin, by take us through your day. Like, what is an average day for you now? Are you doing a little more managing than design, or you still have your hands in both places? But like, what's a day look like for you today? Let's start there.
Oh yeah. So today of all days is our office Christmas party. So I actually changed out of my Christmas sweater for all of you today.
Thanks.
But yeah, day to day, lots of fun stuff happening today. Day to day, it is a lot more management than design. Regrettably, I do really love the creative aspect of the job, and I do still get to create a bunch, but a lot more management at this point. And that's for the sake of the team, for the folks that are on my team that are really creating every day. I'm doing a lot of we do a lot of support for all the departments in the organization. So We have a pretty robust project management system, a pretty robust intake system for those projects. So I'm doing a lot of intake. I'm doing a lot of reviewing requests, reviewing creative briefs, kind of digesting that from a higher level, and then summarizing it for our clients, summarizing it for our team, and then kind of assigning it out. Um, and then when that work's done, reviewing, we have a lot of different stuff that we review for. Obviously, brand compliance is a big one for us, visual brand compliance. But part of my job is also the ADA compliance. So making sure that our deliverables, our PDFs are ADA compliant and meet those standards, which is a big part of public sector work, big part of municipal government work or public institution work is making sure that the information that we're putting out is accessible for everybody. So those are mainly for folks that are using assistive technology to view PDFs or web pages, that kind of stuff. And then I'm just making sure that we're meeting the creative brief. We're meeting the request. I like to say that graphic design graphic designers are visual problem solvers. We're providing solutions for visual problems, and part of my job as the manager here is making sure that those solutions are the best solutions for the problem at hand. So um, do a lot of that. Do a lot of client meetings, a lot of campaign kickoff, stand-up meetings with other members of our team here. Um, and all in an effort to really be able to communicate what the problems are that we need to solve for the rest of the team.
Fantastic. We do have some questions coming in, and I'll ask them in a moment. I do want to ask a follow-up question, and we talk about this a lot, students, in these webinars that we want to teach right alongside learning about professions. And so what I do a lot is I ask follow-up questions. Somebody says something interesting to me, our guest says something interesting, and I want to know more about it. Which, Kevin, if I was an intern, if I was shadowing you, would you want me to just sit against the wall and look at my phone, or would you want me to like be really listening and ask questions? What would you rather?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. So I would definitely prefer an engaged intern. Someone's
Great.
asking questions, tells me first off that they're learning, that they're interested, and that's a lot of the conversations I have with the folks that I manage, volunteers, interns, even people on my team, just making sure that we're being good communicators
Yeah.
through all parts of the process. Make sure that there's a shared understanding of what the visual problems are that we're solving, what the brief is stating, and then what the expectations are. So that's a big part of our process for sure.
Okay, that's great. And we're going to get into more of that stuff in a few minutes too. So you mentioned like ADA. Is that the Americans for with Disabilities Act?
Yes.
So give me just an example of how you are making sure that one of your physical or digital graphical projects is compliant or accessible. What is one example of that?
Yeah. So I encourage everyone, if they're not familiar, to kind of read through the Disabilities Act. But yeah, part of our job here is to make sure that things are accessible for everybody. So for sighted folks, like me and you, Danny, we can see visuals in a PDF perfectly fine. There's folks that have difficulty um, with vision and seeing things, and they need assistive technology to be able to kind of read through and see those things. So a big part of accessibility for websites and PDFs is having structure so that folks can use assistive technology and tab through like what the headings are, what the main points are, what the body text says, describe images to them. So if there's images in PDFs or on the website, but that a sighted person can see, but someone that needs an assistive technology to kind of view things, it reads them alternate text, tells them what is being conveyed in the image or in the graphic.
Hmm.
So just being really thoughtful about layout and formatting and structure
Hmm.
in our PDFs. It's a lot of it's a I don't know if they go over a lot of this stuff in design class. It's definitely a little bit more nuanced. But that's something that we try to do to make sure all of our stuff's accessible for everybody.
Thank you. I want to ask a question from the students,
Sure.
and then we're going to share some of your examples. and we're going to talk through some of the work that you're doing. Um, two quick student questions here. Question from Aaron Dano. Thank you, Aaron. What education or training is required? Do you need to go to college to work in graphic design?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. There's a few different schools of thought here. Personally, I don't think you need to go to college to be a graphic designer. Um, I know plenty of designers and artists, for that matter, that don't have a college degree and are fantastic designers and artists. There's benefits to it for sure, like foundational kind of knowledge and skills. There's introduction to the software. There's really two sides of graphic design. As what I always say is the kind of the foundational stuff where you need to know the elements of design and uh, composition and color theory and stuff like that. But then there's also the technical part. It's like we use really, really kind of sophisticated software to create um, our visual graphics. So you kind of have to meld those together. So college is definitely an opportunity to kind of get hands-on training for those kinds of skills, but not necessarily stuff that can't be done like on your own. Someone that's really determined to learn at a self-paced kind of situation. Yeah, I think you can do it. What I think you really do need to do for a career in graphic design is develop a really good practical portfolio that shows applications in the real world. So like if you're working on projects on your own, be able to show them in a portfolio that solve real world problems.
Fantastic. Thank you for that answer. Question from Amy Legambino. How did you know you wanted to be a graphic designer? Was it always kind of in you? You like to doodle, draw? How'd you know?
That's a great question too. I do an annual talk with seventh graders for the city of Virginia Beach Public Schools as a career exploration program, and this always comes up. And I kind of in that talk I kind of try to paint the picture of me as a seventh grader. Um, and so, my interest in seventh grade, I had no idea I wanted to be a graphic designer. I had no idea I wanted to be a public servant working for the municipal government. But what I did know is I really enjoyed my art classes. I really enjoyed making things when I wasn't in a classroom setting. I was at home just making things. I was taking my favorite clothing brand logos and I was redrawing them, reimagining them at home. Um, I was always asking, I was always the kid that asked for the arts and crafts sets for Christmas or holidays or birthdays. Um, all those crayons and all those paint sets. So I didn't always know that I wanted to be a graphic design, but the writing was on the wall now that I look back. And it wasn't until I got to college, actually, my second semester in college, where I was talking with my advisor and not really knowing where, what path I wanted to take. And my advisor said to me, to her credit, you take a lot of art classes. And I was like, well, I chose to take those. I get two classes a semester I get to choose. Those are the ones I want to choose. Well, have you considered a path in art or design or fine art? So, and that's how I kind of got on the track for my fine arts degree. So,
Love it. Well, you were
yeah,
already leaning that way, and they saw that in you and said, you know
yeah,
what, someone had their eyes open that day and was, paying attention. Because you were clearly showing an interest,
yeah,
in that space. That's great. All right, well, let's on that note, let's get into the design itself. Let's show us a few things that your team is working on, and then we'll roll through the conversation that way.
yeah. Sure. Let me share my screen here. I'm gonna see if I can choose the right screen here. Google Chrome. Sorry, it's asking me for my password here. Be able to share screen. All right. Danny, can you see my screen?
No.
Oh no. Share. No. Oh my gosh. I think it's it wants me to restart the browser here. I didn't have my settings set up correctly. Um, so
We can start by looking at the city's website.
yeah, sure. Let me just walk you through a couple of like the normal.
Here, I'll share mine, and you can just take me through the city site for right now. Where should I go from here?
Yeah, go to City Hall departments. I was thinking you want to go to the communications department.
Here?
Yeah, and then website right there underneath the communications office, and then where are we? Yeah, and then I think under about at the top there, Danny, in the menu, you can select brand.
Right here? The brand book?
Yep, and then click on the city brand book button there in the middle.
Okay. What we
So
got
this is
here?
a document that my team developed a couple of years ago when we refreshed the city's brand, and that we're currently revising now to live as a live website externally for our residents, for our community partners, for our contractors, for our workforce. So this is a document that kind of goes through what the city brand is about, what it means, and then it also shows just some general information about how we see ourselves, and hopefully how our residents and our workforce see it too. And then it goes through and shows you how to apply the brand. So if you're creating things on behalf of the city, as a lot of our workforce does, and as a lot of our community partners does, it shows
Yeah,
you.
where's that in here? Like showing you helping other people
Yeah, so
sort of
so
promote the city.
you're actually right on it now.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
Yeah, so some of those things would be our brand identities, like colors. So it shows you all of our brand color, our color palettes, and shows you how to build those colors in design software. So it shows you the Pantone numbers. It shows you the CMYK builds, which is cyan, magenta, yellow, black. Is a common printing process color build. RGB is the color build for screens and digital media, and then there's a hex code that's associated as well. So it kind of goes through all those different colors, the color palette. It goes through our typefaces, which ours is Proxima Nova, and all the uses for that. If you keep scrolling, it shows you all our lockups for our logos. Oh yeah, all the different swag, all the fun stuff we get.
What do you
Um,
mean by lockups for the logos? What does that mean?
so you have to keep scrolling a little bit, but our logo consists of a logo mark and a word mark. There you go. So it's a stylized BB with the two little swooshes underneath of it, and then that locks up with the city of Virginia Beach, the word mark. So there's a bunch of different versions. It goes through those lockups. There's also lockups for all of our departments. So our organization, our city has 30 some departments that do work, parks and recreation, public libraries, public works, public utilities. Those all have their own identities in logo marks. As you can see on this page, it shows you kind of like, what colors work well for accessibility and what not to use. So you need another thing about accessibility is you need to have really great color contrast between your foreground and background. So we kind of spell that out a little bit.
It's interesting. I want to know, students and teachers watching this, does this spark any questions for you? You're really seeing on the professional side how they're building brand guidelines, what they have to think about, not just for their own team, but if because lots of businesses in the city may want to use Virginia Beach logo on their own materials. And is that like you're welcoming that because you're a city. So
Well,
you don't mind if somebody uses your logo, you're just telling them how to do it?
yes and no. We do have policies in place so that not anyone can grab our logo and our brand identities and use them. There are some guidelines, and a lot of those guidelines are: is there an active relationship with the city? Is there a partnership? That kind of thing. Because we do
Okay.
have to be protective of
Yeah, I know that guy.
our brand identities. Yeah, there you go. There I am.
You have all
apparel
the
guide. So yeah, even our brand guidelines even kind of discuss like what apparel looks like. Um, and it
Let
comes
me
down,
just ask, like I'm looking at this and the dominant theme, this color, it feels like either a sunrise or a sunset. Now, is that intentional? Because this is a resort community.
yeah.
There's miles of beaches. What was the thought behind just even this color scheme or the color scheme here? Are you trying to convey something through these colors, a warmth, sun,
Yeah,
vacation? Like what's the approach here?
that's a great observation.
And then,
So
oh, there you
obviously,
go. And just like
we,
that.
yeah, yeah, there you go. We want to have, yeah, we want to have a diverse color palette. We are a large organization with a lot of communication materials, and then so we did choose colors that kind of reflect the identity of the city itself, and we actually renamed some of those color builds to reflect that. So I think the yellow gold you're seeing is Atlantic Sunrise uh,
Ah,
yellow. The orange is a vibrant orange, which is a play on words because we have an arts district here in Virginia Beach called the Vibe District.
oh, there it is.
Um,
These are the colors. Yep.
yeah, there you go. Our Navy Pride blue which is in reference to our naval community and our military community. Bay Breeze's blue is in reference to the fact that we're not just an ocean city. We have bays and inner waterways as well. And then abundant green, we have a large green space here in Virginia Beach,
Ah,
a
so you
large
change the
farming
color
community.
names to sort of match the
Yeah.
feel of the city. And the colors are all very intentional to feel like this. So you want the colors to help people feel something about the brand.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a lot of our work isn't just visual stuff. It's as a lot of your graphic design students probably can attest to. There's a lot of um, decision making that goes behind design, and you have to be able to communicate the reasons why you're making those design choices. It has to tie back to a creative brief. It has to tie back to the initial problem that you're trying to solve. And in this case, it was we're rebranding the city of Virginia Beach. Um, what colors are we using in our brand palette, and then why? And then this is how we tie it back to. This is the why, how we tied it back to it.
So a couple of questions from Kathy Wise. Thank you, Kathy. How many? I don't know if you this may have preceded you because you just took this role about a year ago. Like, do you know how many drafts it took? She asked to come up with this logo.
Oh,
Obviously, there's like a little bit of a wave here, with the ocean. But like, do you know the history of what it took to get here?
yeah. Actually, I was on the team that helped develop
Okay, so talk to us
the
about
identity.
that process of getting to a final.
Yeah, so it was a decent sized work group, and work started a few years ago, and so there was a lot of concepts kind of rolling around um, as we worked as a group, and then I think once we got through all of that work, we had I think 3 or 4 kind of polished concepts that were a little bit more final, um, that we presented to the organization. So presented it to the communications office. I believe they went to city council and the city manager's office to kind of pick a direction. And then once we landed on the direction, which was what you're seeing now, kind of work to build that out a little bit further. And we're still working to build it out even further.
Wow.
Just because brand is such a big thing, and it touches a lot of aspects in the organization, so a lot of considerations to make.
And once you really land on it, took so much time to pick this logo, which is
Mm-hmm.
going to be used millions of times in different capacities. Was there a discussion like this is going to be our logo for the next 5 years or 10 years? Or was there a discussion like we're not changing this every 6 months? Like this is going to be what it's going to be for a while. Was there a conversation like that?
Not explicitly. We being a city government, it takes a little bit of time to kind of get the refresh going, just because we
Right.
have fiscal responsibilities with you know with changing out all that branding
Right. And it's a
and what that
huge
means.
job to like
Yeah,
switch it again.
I think our hopes were having something that could kind of be timeless to last us a little bit of time,
Yeah.
and kind of help build the cohesion that we needed
Yeah.
in the organization.
Wow. Um, this is great. Really, really interesting stuff. I want to switch to a question several people have asked. Tammy, thank you, Tammy, for your question in the chat. We also had it a couple times. James Hatter, Scylla Hagel, they're all asking the same question. AI. All
Ah,
right. Is it going to wipe out your job, Kevin, or is it a tool to make you do your job even better?
yeah, that's a really good question, and something that we're kind of exploring right now, from a organizational standpoint. And it kind of everybody's kind of looking at this, no matter what your discipline is. Like how can we leverage AI, or what are the hazards in AI? What are the benefits? Um, I personally don't think that that AI is going to be replacing the job that we do, just because of what we talked about already. It takes a person with the skill set needed to interpret what the problem is, what the creative brief is, and then communicate, and make decisions based on that, and deliver final products, and then communicate why you're able to do that. I don't know that
Mhm.
AI can do that very well. Um, there's also so many nuanced things in design that need to, come into play. I do think that AI is useful in as a resource for creating, I don't know, you call them like mood boards, or fodder, to kind of get ideas rolling, to get concepts hashed out, to visually kind of convey what direction you'd like to go in with clients, without having to do a lot of like design work ahead of time. So I do think they have a usefulness in graphic design, but I don't think they're ever going to replace your graphic designer, to be honest.
Well,
But
and I think that's a great segue to our next topic, which is what you already started to speak to. AI is great for starting conversations, prompts, but ultimately the real meat of the work is once you've created it, being able to articulate what you've made,
mm-hmm.
sort of bring in, as we often talk about in the schools, soft skills of connecting the work with the audience it's intended for.
Yep.
And that is where the human comes in.
Sure.
So let's look at your own office. How do communication skills play a role in your work? How important is good writing, good speaking, speaking in front of a room, speaking to an audience, the phone, talking into the phone? How do you use these skills every day
Yeah.
to enhance the work with graphic design?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's something that my team and I talk about quite a bit, actually. Where I try to say is we're not just a team creating things and sending them along to market. We still need to be good communicators, and just like you said, we need to be able to understand what it is we're being asked to do. We're understanding the problem, and then being able to communicate that back to the client, so that there's a shared understanding of what the actual problem is. A lot of the times, um, you know, a lot of the times we see someone, stating they need this, and it's supposed to help me solve this problem I have. And sometimes that's not the best solution. Maybe that's
Mm,
what they think they need, but that's not, best solution. So it's our job to then communicate what our guidance and what we think might help better solve the problem. So a lot of it is like, hey, I need to get a trifold brochure for my upcoming clinic or whatever. Um, and so we kind of take it all in. We understand. We read the brief. We kind of understand what's going on, and then we say, well, we see that you asked for a trifold brochure, but maybe that's not the best solution. Maybe what have you ever thought about something like this that might work a little bit better for your audience, or for your lead times? So being able to communicate those ideas in a way that is getting your guidance across as an expert, while also preserving those kind of interpersonal relationships that you have with your clients and the people on your team are really important. So that's
Great.
something that we work on a lot of the times, with just intake, just sharing expectations and understandings, and then even when we're presenting work, like here's a draft of the thing that you requested. Um, this was my approach. If you notice on the request on the brief, it said you needed help doing this, and this is how I tackled that in the thing I'm supplying. So a lot of communication skills needed. Obviously, in an office like ours, email, lots of email. Being able to craft an email is important. We're on Microsoft Teams regularly. You have to be able to be reached and communicate on there any time throughout the day. Um, we do a lot of presentation of concepts to different clients and different departments that we serve. So being able to get on a call like this, or get in in front of a boardroom and show your work,
Yeah.
show the stuff that you poured all your efforts into,
Yeah.
and put it out there for somebody. You have to be able to communicate, what they're looking at. You have to be able to take criticism. That's a big part of this job. You have to,
Well,
I like to call it battle armor. You have to be able to
well,
take.
I think what you're saying, and which is it's this job is not just sitting at the computer making fun art.
Yeah,
It
I wish.
is it right. There's when you're part of a team or you have stakeholders or customers, it involves a whole nother set of skills which AI cannot replace. And it's also what makes you successful in your job, which is why now you're leading the entire team in the largest city in the state of Virginia, because you have demonstrated these skills on top of your design skills. And I'm sure that's a big reason why you have this job.
Thanks.
We do have there's a lot of great questions, and let's kind of wrap up on. Actually, I want you to answer one thing for me. Then we'll do like a little rapid fire round,
Sure.
and then we'll start to wrap. We were talking earlier before we started that a big issue today among employers is students understanding what's appropriate in an office. From your perspective, working at the city of Virginia Beach, talk about the use of language in the office. Is what about can students use language that could be seen as inappropriate because it's just commonplace today in social media in the world, or when they're in an office, what how should they use their words?
Oh, that's a great question. The city of Virginia Beach has expectations for its employees, and I would say that it's we try to keep it casual on my team, but there is an expectation of professionalism. Um, so obviously, no foul language. We're communicating in a way that is relationable for everybody on the team, that kind of thing. Um, Obviously, being respectful, and like I mentioned earlier, just preserving kind of our relationships with the folks that we serve, because that's a big part of the work that we do. We are a service kind of provider, so we have to preserve those relationships.
Great. Appreciate you saying that. All right, let's get through some quick rapid
Sure.
answers, okay? Um, Amy Legambino again, from her student Andrew. Great question, Andrew. What is something you wish you knew sooner about graphic design?
Oh man, Andrew,
I
good
know that's a
question.
that's a curveball that hits deep. Yeah, I should have held that till the end. But anything that comes to mind, you wish someone had told you while you were in school.
Yeah, oh man. All right, Andrew. So, um, as I don't want to come off too curt here, but we got to have thick skin in this profession. We have to
Mm,
be able to receive feedback, whether we perceive it to be um, constructive, hurtful, demeaning. We have to be able to receive that, and then interpret it into actionable things. So,
phenomenal.
uh, it's really hard to do. It's really really hard to do, because it takes a very passionate person to be a graphic designer, and you spend a lot of your time creating, and you're pouring out all of you into these creations, and then to hear someone say, I don't like that, and this is why I don't like it. You have to be able to receive that in a way that gives you actionable feedback to make it better.
As an excellent answer. I love that answer. I didn't know where you were going to go with it, but you got there. Really good. All right, two more quick questions, both from Kathy Wise's student Isaiah. Thank you, Isaiah. What kind of design should you put in your portfolio?
Oh, so great question. So passion projects are great. Stuff that really translates to real world practice is even better. And then a wide variety. So you don't want to have a portfolio all of you know logos. You show some logos, also show some build out of that branding, but also show booklets, magazines. You want to show multidiscipline stuff so that future employers can really see the breadth of all that you can do.
Fantastic. And what software do you use or recommend?
Yeah, we're currently on the Adobe Creative Suite, which is a subscription service that includes Adobe InDesign, Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, Premiere, all those really good ones, After Effects. So that's what we currently use, and that's a
Fantastic.
big one. Yeah.
Um, there are a few more questions I can't even, we're running up against time, but some really awesome questions, very thoughtful. Students, as I said, students here are very serious about the profession, and you can tell by their questions that they are actively building portfolios.
I love it.
So they are truly hearing you. Before we wrap, I want to just share a couple of things with everybody. One is we have a YouTube channel that I'm putting in the chat where we store all of these conversations. So the teachers, please, students too, please go there right now from the chat and subscribe, because every time we put a new conversation out there, you'll get notified. Separately, coming right around after the new year, we have our annual contest, which is called America's Next Great Intern. We've done it now. This will be year number 3, and we have students compete on different communication skills. Like Kevin, we have students practice writing an email, writing a cover letter, using the phone, and they submit those criteria to us. We, as a team, review. We choose national finalists, and then it's a public vote for the winner.
Oh,
And
awesome.
the contest runs in February, which is National Career and Technical Education Month. And then the voting happens in March. The winner is announced in April. And this year, we're working hard to identify a virtual internship for the winner at a company to be soon named. So there's a real prize. But on the topic of portfolios, everything the student submits is sent right back to the teachers to give to students as portfolios. So they're going to get back the cover letter, the email, whatever we ask them to write and produce, they will receive as a portfolio.
Oh, awesome.
So everybody who participates will win, so to speak, because you're going to get something out of it. So this is a way for students to demonstrate the skills that they possess so they can be seen as great future interns who could be on Kevin's team or someone else's team. And Kevin knows, oh, they know how to write an email, they know how to sit in an office, they know how to be a young professional. Because that's what he needs on his team.
Yep.
People who know how to handle themselves in professional environments. So that's all coming your way. You'll see information to register for the contest in January. And we'll have one more webinar next week on the 18th of December. We're talking to a physical therapist in South Carolina. So until then, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Kevin, you're now allowed to go back to your holiday party and throw on the sweater. And I appreciate you so much, Kevin, for all your time and your insights. This was awesome information. And thank you all for being here. And look for the recording on YouTube soon. Thanks again, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Have a good
Have a
one.
great day.